So picture this. It's 1790. Joseph Haydn, he's basically the king of music in Vienna. A living legend, comfortable, celebrated. But what happens when a master like that, at the very top of his game, is suddenly forced to start all over again? Let's get into it.
And that's really the big question here, isn't it? Because after his longtime patron, Prince Nicholas Esterházy, dies, Haydn, at 58 years old, takes this massive, massive risk. He leaves his cushy, familiar world for the cutthroat commercial music scene of London. This was no victory lap. No way. This was a high-stakes test.
All right, so first up, Haydn's London gamble. He packs his bags and heads for a new city. And this single decision, it wasn't just going to challenge him in ways he never expected. It was going to completely reshape his entire artistic legacy. Let's really set the scene here.
You have to understand, this was not the Vienna he knew. Not even close. In the 1790s, London was the biggest, most competitive musical city on the planet. Its concert life was a business. It was loud, chaotic, and driven entirely by public ticket sales, not the refined tastes of a single prince. For a guy used to a steady salary and a built-in audience, this was a whole new ballgame.
And what a game it was. The pressure was just immense. I mean, you had fierce competition from every direction. Get this, in just 1 year, 1792, there were 16 different concert series, all fighting for the public's money. You had to please a fickle, paying audience that could turn on you in a heartbeat. You had to constantly be advertising in the papers. And on top of all that, you had these incredibly opinionated critics in the press just waiting to pounce. It was a musical free-for-all.
So who talked him into jumping into this shark tank? This guy right here, Johann Peter Salomon. He was a brilliant German violinist and impresario. The moment he heard Haydn's patron had died, he rushed to Vienna and basically made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And Salomon wasn't just a promoter. He managed Haydn's career, he organized his concerts, and he became his closest friend and ally in a foreign land. Okay, so navigating the business side of London, that was one thing. But winning over its critics, well, that was another battle entirely. Haydn's sophisticated, complex style immediately clashed with what the London press and public thought music should be. This lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got what the London critics wanted. Simple, hummable melodies. They saw music as light, pleasant entertainment. They liked the old-school vocal style. But what did Haydn give them? He delivered complex, intricate harmonies. For him, music was a dramatic language, a story without words. He was developing a whole new kind of symphonic language, and critics, like one vocal guy named William Jackson, just didn't get it. He basically accused Haydn of forgetting how to write a good tune. But Haydn had his fans too. The super influential music historian Charles Burney shot back with this brilliant defense. He argued that harmony isn't the enemy of melody, it's the foundation of it. And this wasn't some quiet academic debate. This was a public fight playing out in the newspapers about the whole purpose of music itself. But here's the crucial part. Haydn listened. He didn't just plug his ears and ignore his critics. He was a pragmatist. He knew that to succeed in London, he had to win over the audience. So he made a really smart strategic decision to adapt, to simplify his style just enough to meet them halfway. And you can literally see the change here. It's fascinating. On the left, that's a passage from his Lark Quartet, written before London. Look how ornate and elaborate that violin melody is. Now check out the right. That's from the Rider Quartet, written specifically for London. The melody is simpler, more direct, much clearer. This is the proof. He was actively tweaking his music for his new environment. But adapting to critics was only part of the story. Something else happened in London that didn't just change Haydn's style. It completely transformed his ambition. It was a revelation, and its name was Handel. So Haydn goes to these massive festivals celebrating the music of George Friedrich Handel, who was a legend in London. And hearing these epic works like Messiah and Israel in Egypt performed with gigantic choirs and orchestras, it was a profound, life-altering experience for him. He had never, ever heard anything like it. And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, some of these concerts had over 1,000 performers. 1,000. The sheer power of that sound absolutely stunned Haydn. He famously wept and said of Handel, "He is the master of us all." So yeah, Haydn left London a commercial success. But more importantly, he left a changed man. This experience planted a seed. He went back to Vienna not just as a great symphonist, but as an artist with a new, epic ambition.
He wanted to create music on that massive Handelian scale, music that was monumental, sublime, and spoke to everyone. But to pull off a vision that big, Haydn needed a new kind of partner. He needed more than just a promoter this time. He needed an intellectual and artistic collaborator who shared his new dream. And he found that person right back home in Vienna.
Enter Baron Gottfried von Swieten. This guy was a major figure in Viennese society, a diplomat, imperial librarian, a big-shot government official. But he was also a huge music connoisseur, and he was completely obsessed with the old Baroque masters, especially Bach and Handel. He was the absolute perfect person to understand Haydn's new, Handel-inspired vision.
And this shows just how perfect the partnership was. Van Swieten shared Haydn's new passion for Handel. He was a skilled writer who could actually write the libretto, the text, for a huge oratorio. Critically, he had the connections to fund the whole thing, putting together a group of wealthy nobles he called the Society of Associated Cavaliers. But he wasn't just a money guy. He believed, just like Haydn now did, in making music that was great and exalted. And so, one of the most fruitful collaborations in music history began. The master composer, transformed by his London experience, partnered with the visionary patron to create the works that would become his ultimate legacy. Take their first massive project, the oratorio The Creation. This was a true partnership. Step 1. Van Swieten takes the English text from Milton's Paradise Lost and adapts it into German. Step 2. He would even write specific suggestions for Haydn in the margins, ideas about how the music should sound. Step 3. Haydn takes those ideas and brings them to life in the music. And Step 4. The Society of Cavaliers bankrolls the huge premiere, a real team effort. And the result of this incredible teamwork? Not just one, but two of the greatest choral works ever written, The Creation and The Seasons. These pieces, this monumental music, it's the direct result of Haydn's London gamble, his clash with the critics, his revelation with Handel, and his brilliant partnership with Van Swieten back in Vienna. And that's the beautiful arc of this story. The established master steps out of his comfort zone. He gets tested by a competitive market. He gets challenged by critics, and he's forced to adapt. But through that very same trial, he's also inspired. He finds a grander vision that pushes him to an even higher artistic peak, creating the works that would cement his name in history forever. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. Haydn's story shows a genius who was shaped by public taste, by critics, by the inspiration of another composer, and by deep collaboration with a patron. It really makes you wonder, is the greatest art ever truly a solo performance? Or is it always, in some way, a conversation?